Hello, welcome to the 6th episode of Life's a Stage with me, Frida Liu, on Jenn TV. Thank you for joining me. Today's topic is regrets. Do we have them and what do we do with them? Life's a Stage is, of course, named after my book. And the title Regrets is not just a song made popular by Frank Sinatra. I look at motivational quotes about not having regrets, but I do have some niggling, worrisome thoughts about some of my decisions. How do we deal with them and how do we make the most of them? My two guests today are two young folks, and I wonder if they have any regrets. Too young to have regrets. It's only something that happens, I think, when you've lived as long as I have. Aaron Fu, he's head of business development at Plus Solar Systems, and Khushboo Nangalia hails from India. She's the founder of digital marketing agency and growth academy Beyond 99 and is a LinkedIn expert. Actually, both of them are. So do connect with them there. Aaron Fu, Khushboo Nangalia. And if you have any questions, do put them in the comment section and we'll try to address them. Also, Selamat Hari Raya. So we're going to start off with a little bit of getting to know them. And for those who don't know them, maybe you can share a little bit about what you do. We'll start with you, Aaron.
Yeah, my name is Aaron, and I'm currently the head of product and business development at Plus Solar. Mainly the H team, where we look into the IoT devices and how we can make use of all that data to help businesses optimize their energy consumption.
Right. So this is something new for you.
Oh yeah, it's completely brand new, but it's really, really exciting.
Because I know previously you were dealing with cars, but car related, I guess, or energy in terms of the car. Khushboo?
Hi, it's lovely to be here, first of all. I'm Khushboo, and you can call me Kush, founder of Beyond 99, which is a digital agency where our focus is to help SMEs and small businesses with almost zero to no budgets to go online and with the right strategy. Alongside also a co-founder to a growth academy, Salt and Pepper, where we are helping businesses and individuals to crack their way through the modern sales and LinkedIn and how they can go further with it.
Right. Okay. So I know, of course, I know you guys are both very active on LinkedIn. So I always know what's going on with them when I'm on LinkedIn myself. So again, yes, do connect with them. So we were talking about regrets, and I was like, okay, I'm going to bring two young folks. Right? And when they look at regrets, right? And you know, in my book, I talked about my father having to make sacrifice for his family. And do you remember looking at someone and wondering if they regretted something or that they had lived a life regret? And I'll share a little bit about my dad, all right? My dad is very musical. Right? My dad's a very musical guy. In fact, I had an uncle who would probably be in the 50s or 60s, right? This is from Sarawak, small town in Sarawak, who must have taken a boat to New York to join a band, right? Wow. And that is like, and my dad was a very brilliant musician, learned by ear. He played the trumpet, he played the piano and everything, but he got a job, got married, 4 kids, and he was a great father, great husband and all that. And I'm just wondering, right? Did he regret any of it? He died before he was 60, and I always wondered whether he died with the music still in him, right? So looking at people in your life, right? What are some things that you see? Right? We'll look at you, Kush, because you're just looking at me so intently and smiling.
No, because I would say I relate with this. I lost my father when he was 42.
Wow.
So he didn't live enough. I always feel that. And when I read about your book and I read about how you shared it, it always makes me a little heavy because it takes me down the memory lane. He really gave up a lot of things in his life just to give us the right upbringing and the right needs. So definitely when it comes to regret, I would say one of my major regrets is I was 16. So, and a very adventurous girl with a lot of friends. I used to end up actually not going out with him on shopping. And trust me, he's one guy who used to love shopping.
Right.
Of all the people. And I am not a shopping fan on the other side. So I really miss that. I wish I would have accompanied him on those weekends more than I did.
Right.
Which I feel I didn't. I really didn't.
Okay, so this is that regret, right? I mean, like just wishing we had spent more time with our parents. Oh no, okay. Aaron, we'll move on to you before I start waterfalls. Yeah, what about you, Aaron?
Wow, I think for me, if I think about regrets around me, I think my whole 20s and teenage years were the part which I had the most regret. It was more of that didn't make use of the opportunities which I had. Thankfully, I had amazing pair of parents who were really supportive in whatever I did, and they allowed me to just try whatever you want, just try only lah.
Okay.
And that allowed me to try a lot of things lah. So like when I was 14 years old, I used to sell fighting fish.
Oh, wow.
Now they have fancy name lah. They call it betas and all that kind of thing. Back in the days when I was a little 14-year-old kid, I used to started to have this really nice, pretty fighting fish.
Right.
They call it crown tails, half moons, and all that. And back then it was super rare.
Right.
I got into a group of people. I started speaking to a lot of adults about it back then, and I started selling those fishes to the States.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I used this platform called aquabid.com as a kid.
Wow.
My parents supported me in helping me make sure that the money comes in properly. And we started selling fish to the States. And it worked out for about 2 years. And one day I decided to stop. Why I decided to stop was because I started getting feedback from people saying that, hey, when the fish reach there, it's not really that healthy anymore.
Right.
It's not that pretty because the fins on this kind of fish are very sensitive.
Right.
So when you're shipping it there in a small container, it tends to get a little bit damaged. So I allowed people who gave me those feedbacks to get to me, and I quit. Even later on in my days when I was in university, I tried making t-shirts. Back then, there were not many people doing those printing t-shirts yet.
Right.
And it sold really well. But one day I got feedback saying that, hey, the quality for this t-shirt, not so good. So I felt like, let it go again. Later on in my career, when I left university, I started my own business, Training Gurus, where we did trainings.
Right.
I allowed people to tell me that, hey, you're too young to do training. And I let it go and it just slid off. And I think when looking back at it, it's all the opportunities which I had, I let go are those which I really do regret the most.
Okay, so wow, this is so interesting. So what was, I guess, the learning there,
Right.
and you let it go, and so I'm sure you still look back at it. So now, what is your attitude towards things?
Right. So I think that's a part of regret which is so beautiful, right? It gives us lessons as well. And looking back at it, I think the biggest takeaway from it was that now I need to start looking at what I feel instead of what other people feel. Because if I'm so dependent on what other people say, there are always going to be haters out there. There are always going to be people with opinions which are always going to be against yours, right?
Right.
But now if I just look at myself, what do I like? There are always going to be people who are supportive, people who are not so supportive, and that's fine. Yeah, and now just push on through with whatever I have. And I think that really flowed through with my past career with iCar Asia and today now in Plus Solar as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so like for me, I tend to, if I want to do something right now, it's like, I always say, will I regret it later, right?
Right.
And I just want to still stick to the story about, we talk about fathers, so no, okay, I've been holding, I was like wiping my face, right? So the one major regret I have in my life, right, is regarding my father, right? And that was, I was in Australia at that time, and and you've never heard him like this. He
Right.
kept begging me to come back for Chinese New Year. So I was only in Australia for a year. At that time, I've only been there for 6 months. I had one subject to do over summer. And I said, Pa, no, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I'll see you in a couple of months. I'll see you in a couple of months, right? And of course, that was, I never saw him the next time I saw him was in the comatose stage when I came back to see him, right? So that was that one thing that always that Chinese New Year, I never got to spend with him. And you shared a little bit about that, right? In terms of, now I want to go into your personal regrets, because you look at for me, it was looking at my father, and then my personal regret, not having spent the time with him. He have not seen me, in broadcast or anything like that. So I've never had the opportunity to treat him to a meal, to take him on a holiday and that kind of thing, right? So do you have any personal regrets, Khushboo? Oh, okay.
No, I think in terms of when it comes to personal regrets, I wouldn't say I have any with my existing family at this point of time. And one of the major reason is because I have a lot of regrets with my father.
Okay.
There was one trip that he planned with the family, and there's a place in India which is Haridwar.
Okay.
It's a pilgrim place, but we don't usually, I'm born in a very middle class family, right? And we don't have like yearly trips. Okay. So this vacation was a big thing for us, very huge thing. And when he did that, we had a lot of projects to submit. Like I had a lot of projects to submit, and I convinced him to let me stay at home and for everybody else to go and enjoy the vacation. Today, when I think, I really feel were those projects that important? That was the last trip that as a family we had it together, but I'm not there in any of the pictures. I'm not there anywhere in it. And that makes me feel that today, at least with my existing family, I'm going to spend the time with them.
I should have asked Khushboo for the show. I didn't realize that we both have, dads. And
I am getting a little,
Okay, so anyway, Aaron, your parents are still well, huh? I know you shared you shared a little bit about your own personal regrets in terms of all these other things. Anything else? Like, it all seemed to be business related, huh? So far, like,
It's in a way, it's very personal to me as well, because I do look back at my childhood and I look at all the opportunities that I had, and it's all the support which all the people around me which really gave me that opportunity. If my parents weren't there to allow me to sell fish when I was a kid, I wouldn't have that learning experience of selling fish to the States. If I didn't try selling shirts online, and that was my uni mates who like gave me the idea and like supported me around it. And the thing about it is that they place so much hope and aspiration inside of it as well, that it's something which I personally had to one day say, I give up, and
you let them down.
Yeah, in a way.
Okay. What about professional regrets? Okay,
when it comes to professional regrets, I really look back in my life and I was thinking a lot. When things like this happened with me, I was so young. I learned one thing, that I can't live with regrets. It makes me feel very bad about myself.
Okay.
So it's not that I have not done mistakes. I've done a lot of mistakes in the last 10 years, 11 years working together in the business. But when it comes to regret, I don't think I really feel anything that I would go back and not do it the way I have done it in the past, unless it's a very small or a petty incident or something. So one thing that I do with myself, when I'm in a catch-22 situation where I have to make some choices, and trust me, these situations only come like once in a while.
Okay.
I would literally get into my zone, and that's the hardest part, to cut the noise and go inward, deep inside. And when that inner voice, if I ask that inner voice and that tells me that, Kush, yes, you will regret, then I'm ready to fail.
Okay.
I'm ready to fail because so Beyond 99 as a company, which started about 3 years ago, I had to leave my earlier company to get this new vision initiated, which was not easy because I had been working with those people for about 7 years then.
Okay.
And then leaving that aside and starting a vision that I have within, which is calling me, was not easy. And everything was stable, comfortable. This was risky because the country is new. I did not know many people outside of my network. And to start a business of your own in a new land is very difficult. So it took me about 3 months, 4 months to go through that journey of daily struggle that I want to do it, I don't want to do it. But I remember one night when I had the right moment and I asked myself, Kush, 2 years, just 2 years down the line, if you look back and if you feel that you had to make some changes, would you have made those changes? Yes, definitely. I'm ready to fail at this age with my business. I'm absolutely all right. But I cannot not take this step right now. Otherwise, down the line, I'm going to regret all through. I wish. Kush, I wish.
Okay. I want to just, before that, you can add on to that, unless you want to add on. I was just talking about the professional regrets, right?
Right.
So for me, everything was, I've worked for, I think apart from the first company, I worked for 5 years, every company I worked for has been over 10 years, right? And leaving the last job to come to working for this radio station that I'm with right now. And even when I was working with IBM, there were offers elsewhere which were offering double. Okay, that just
Wow.
goes to show how badly, no, not how badly I was paid. I think they were just sort of like, they were not exactly the top payers, but they
Right.
offered other things, right? Other things that were important to me, which was working from home,
Right.
when I had to take care of my kid. So these kind of things were, one job that was offering more than double required me to go out of the state. I only come back, and I cannot come back during weekends because
wow.
the bulk of the business happens during the weekends. So I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of all that money?
Right.
I will regret not having spent time with my son, right?
Right.
If I had taken a
Yeah.
job for what, right? So I think
Right.
that was the question. And I like how you said 2 years from now, if I didn't do this, what, like to just sort of set a vision. If I don't do this, what will happen, right? What have I got to lose? And I think I have to put that with the decision I'm making at the moment. Okay.
I think what Khushboo mentioned is really beautiful. Like, I love how you played it out that when you jump into this, you're ready to fail. Like, I still remember, like, a couple of years back, I saw this on my friend's Facebook wall. He just got employed in Facebook, and on the wall said something along the lines of, move fast, break things.
Okay.
Move fast and break things. So the idea here is like, when you want to do something, you got to like be prepared for failure. You got to be prepared to break things, because at the end of the day itself, you're moving at such a pace where if you're going to get pinned down by regrets, pinned down by the idea that, hey, I did something wrong and I just harp on it and I stay with it, it's going to be rather taxing, right? And the whole idea behind it is that if we go into the idea of moving fast, that we try a lot of different new things, find out what works for us, and if we can't cope with it, then hey, it's just another mistake, and let's move on with it.
But something you both said as well, and you like I said, young folks, you're saying like, okay, at my age, I'm doing this anyway, right? If it doesn't happen, it's okay because I'm at this age. Now, will you have that attitude when you're older, right? And with children, would you make those things like, and I just want to hear what you have to say, and I'll talk a little bit from, auntie's experience, but, will that be a factor though? Will age be a factor though in making decisions?
So, for my quick ad, it wouldn't be fair for me to say anything today,
right?
But I do feel yes. I just stepped my foot into 30 a few months ago, and it feels different. It does feel different. So I will lie if I just make it up and say, no, age is not a factor. It is, definitely, it's a factor. It gives me more courage at this point of time to do more things. But definitely knowing the adventurous side inside me, I wouldn't let it take over my dreams. I would want to keep myself reminded that you're not too late. And in those situations, I do very simple things. I look at people like Frida Liu. I look at people like who I really admire, and I see it's never too late. They discovered their passion. I know people who started startups at the age of 45 and are today among the top 20s in the region or somewhere. So there's no age factor to it, and I just keep on always reminding it, but the pressure is there.
Right. And just before you continue, and you were saying the people who start startups, actually there are a lot who start in their 40s, right? But the publicity is always shown on the younger ones, right? But actually there's a lot of people who start on later. Aaron, what do you have to say to that?
Oof. I think age definitely would play a factor, but in a very different sense. So as we age, right, I think our goals in life change, and the things we want to do change as well. Priorities change, right? So new things come in, and hey, we're not stagnant as an individual. So I think as much as yes, maybe a priority of maybe having more commitments come in, but maybe that commitment is what we want. Right? I'm pretty sure a lot of times as we age, we take on new things, new challenges, and that becomes a priority in our life as well. And that's kind of okay, because you're still heading towards that track. It's still not leaving behind regrets. It's not saying that I take on new priorities, I'll regret not doing it. But our lives has changed. We agree within us that, hey, it has changed, that this is now a new priority for us. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, in my book, I talk about the cocoon years when cocoon as in I was having, spending more time with my son, and that was important, right? But I still had a job, I still had a career,
Right.
And I was learning something new during that period, right? I was learning and thinking about the next stage of my life where he will grow up just like now. He has grown up and he's got his own interests. He does his own thing, right? And that was important to me. So also I find that. Plan, right? You look at 2 years, sometimes I look at 10 years, I look at certain things like, would I regret not doing certain things, right? Do I regret not trying certain things? So one of the things I said to myself, right? Someone said, oh, I'm too old. I said, look, say someone's 40, I said, you know what? In 5 years, you're going to be 45 anyway. You're going to be 45 anyway, right? So you might as well, that doesn't change, right? And then you're going to regret you didn't do it at 45. But time's going to matter, time's going to move on and you got to do those things, right? Okay, how do you think about your future to ensure that you have no regrets? So this was actually taken from Stephen Covey's book, right? And he said 80th birthday, right? And what people are saying about him, right? So I've actually done that. I've actually written like at 80 years old, what will people say about me from a fitness perspective? Will say about me from a whatever perspective, right? What my son will say about me, right? And then the idea then is to live my life backwards so that those things come to pass, right? And it's like you read these books, right? So what are some of the things that you look at that you won't regret things in the future?
Is it about going backwards?
Well, up to you, right? So I mean, for me, how do you think about your future? So that you will have no regrets. So the things are going to happen, new ventures are going to happen, right? How do you ensure like another opportunity might come by again? Yeah.
I think for me, it's really about just accepting that we will fail, move fast, break things. I really do believe that, because at the end of the day itself, we only learn through experience. If we, as a 5-year-old kid, didn't touch the hot kettle and cry out in pain, we'll never learn that the kettle is hot, right? Of course, I do regret touching the hot kettle at that age, but there's a learning out from it. So the whole idea behind it for me is that experience as much as we can. Don't be afraid of failing. I mean, we live in a generation where a lot of people are afraid of voicing out because of the opinions of everybody are out there, right? Social media is there. Voicing out something, suddenly someone says they don't like you, then, oh, how's that going to make us feel, right? So until we try, we don't know. So put yourself out there, give your opinions out there, try things, experience things. If it doesn't work out, sure, you might have that tiny little regret there, but move on from it and learn from it. Take it as a learning opportunity. And I think that's where, for me itself, taking a step out of my 6-year career to something which is completely different industry, it is scary. It is, looking back at it, it is a risk. But I'm ready to make that mistakes and, hey, learn from it.
Okay. Do fast, move fast, break things.
If I understand it right, you're making me think when I meet you, how do I see my life backwards?
Yes.
And I have to thank you for this question.
Okay.
Because it really led me to a vision and manifest myself in that journey. Some of the things that I see that I would sit and think back and feel right about is I really want to take my mom to a world tour. So that is something, my biggest to-do that I have up my list. So I want that to be done and dusted.
Okay, all right.
My sister to be married by then, of course, to a well-settled place. The business that I am running and should be soaring as one of the most Asia's most impactful companies to be able to help the growth mindsets to get out there and be able to empower other people. And at the same time, I'm sitting in my, I don't know, I always feel like my home is in Penang, and in Penang, I have it sitting there, and I'm with my better half, and we're just talking and we're just looking back on our lives.
Oh, Penang, yeah.
I don't know, I always feel that Penang is my go-to place when life gets a little slower.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So
Even though I'm born in India, I should have picked some place in India, but I somehow feel that it's Penang.
right. So this must be your past life. There was something in Penang. Okay. So that got you thinking that way. Okay.
Yeah, it did.
That's good. So like, and you did you think about that? Like, huh?
I think for me, one thing I'm personally really afraid about is looking at the end.
Oh,
Then
okay.
you should do it.
I have that fear of seeing the end of the journey, and it's something which I think about. It scares me to know that, hey, will there be a tomorrow or not? Yeah, so for me, it was kind of like the flip side of it. Instead of looking from there, look back, I was like, oof. I know there's an end there, but I don't know where it is, and it could be tomorrow. So probably this is probably more in line with the idea of move fast, break things, because it's more about what am I going to do tomorrow? How am I going to make tomorrow better than yesterday? How can I make tomorrow jealous of yesterday, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking it's like when you drive on the highway at 4 a.m. in the morning, the highway is dark, you only have your headlights, you can see like 2 to 3 meters in front of you, and that 2 to 3 meters in front of you can give you that safe comfort to know that you're heading towards the right direction. So for me, it's really about living in the moment, seeing what's in front of me and constantly adjusting where I am.
Okay.
Because honestly speaking, if I'll think about my 80 years old self, I'm not sure 10 years later, will I still want that same thing or not?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you've got certain goals. So, okay, for me, a couple of things that you all talked about, right? For me, you say move fast, break things. For me, done is better than perfect.
Right.
Right. So for
Yeah.
me, it's like just done is better than perfect because
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
never be perfect, right? But if I didn't do it, I'll regret it, right? So just
Yeah.
little things like writing a book, right? Just doing these things and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
If it happens, it happened. My goodness, it happened. Or doing MC also, so it's like, is it perfect? It's not, right? Because
Right.
the next one will be better.
Yeah.
Right, the next book will be better. The next thing will be better, right? So one of the things that I think about, like when I vision that thing as well, I see that I've traveled a lot, right?
Right.
Because this 2 years will set me back a bit. But to me, like I would like to see, as much of the world as possible. But it's like
Yeah.
small goals: 2 new countries a year. So that means the year where we can travel again, I have to do a lot of countries, right? But the idea was that 2 new countries a year to see the world, and that each day is lived abundantly, right?
Right.
And this is because I talked about it. There are friends I know who have passed on, right? And in they are like, huh? This age? So rather than saying that life is short, I don't want to say life is short. I want to say life is abundant, right?
Right.
My life is fulfilled, right? So that I don't want it to be a self-fulfilling prophecy that life is short, but my life is abundant. And every day, I want to live abundantly, right? And it's of course there are days, but I would like to think that every day has been an abundant life, right? Okay, now I want to talk about decision-making process, right? What is your decision-making process? If you were given 2 job offers, right? And how do you decide on what is the right one? Okay, given that money and perks are the same, and yeah.
Ooh, that feels so familiar.
It's so recent.
Yeah.
I'll share about it. Okay, maybe before you talk first, then I'll share something that happened.
Okay. I think for me in this situation, I believe that people were driven by mainly 2 things: the carrot and the stick.
Okay.
Right. And it's always a battle of finding the balance between what drives you and what you're afraid about. It's always, let's say, the benefits of the company, the perks. Do you get excited doing it? And at the end of the day, is it scary enough for you as well?
Right.
I think a lot of times you will look at the perks.
Right.
That's what everybody looks at. But we get on roller coasters to get scared, right? Why do we pay money for that? Because we enjoy that as well. We find some drive to it as well. We get motivated by it. So part of which is if I were to have a situation where 2 jobs, same thing, same perks, same salary, everything the same, what I'll also look at is, as much as it excites me as well, does it scare me?
Okay.
Yeah, does it scare me? Does it scare me enough to wake up in the morning wanting to learn more, do more, instead of something which I know I'm already comfortable at?
Right.
So that's where now jumping from the tech automotive industry to now energy tech,
right.
it's something very, very foreign. It's something which I'm scared about, but it really does excite me because now it's a whole new pool for me to try out, to learn new things, to experiment on things.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, does it scare me?
Yeah.
Okay, which is also something I talk about in my book, which is the English language for fear is
Right.
fear. The Hebrew language for fear, and I might pronounce it wrongly, but there's Pashat and Yira, okay?
Right.
And I can't remember which is which, right? But one fear is a genuine fear where you are afraid of being bitten by a snake, don't go where the cobra is, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Which is, survival fear, right? And the other fear is imagined fear, right?
Right.
And imagine, or you know that it will grow and it will change me. It will, like making a decision to leave my comfortable
Right.
MNC to join the radio station, right? With a pay cut and everything, right? But it was like it scares me that I'm doing something different, right?
Right.
But I'm so glad I did, right? So that was that kind of fear. And then you then sit down and say, actually, this amount of money I can survive lah. I can, right? But I am paying to learn.
Right.
Something new. I'm going into a new venture to learn something new, and that was the price that I had to pay, so to speak, right? But even in your decision, right, earlier on, when I was given the two job offers before joining
Right.
IBM, a bank, international bank, offered me a job, and then IBM offered me a job, and the bank was offering me a lot more. Okay.
Right.
But what happened during the interview process when I got the job at the bank was the guy said, and I know I was a part-time TV news reader, and it's never been an issue at any organization. And they said, yes, you have to quit this. I said, why? People will know that you work for us and think that we don't pay you enough. I said, I only do during weekends. It doesn't interfere with work, right? I mean, the logic wasn't right to me, right? And then when I talked to IBM about that, do you know I read the news? They said, yeah. And it's life before Astro, it's not a job that you saw a part-time job you can highlight, you know what I mean? Because you're on TV.
Yeah.
And they said, no, not a problem. And they were very family oriented, right?
Right.
And I'm so glad I did, right? I'm so glad I did, because when I had my kid, I don't think the bank would have this working from home facilities as when I joined the technology company. So like looking back at all these things, right? Okay, now what about you, Khushboo? Now, have you declined a client who had the budget but you didn't want to work with, right? And what was your decision, right? I mean, and this is any regrets? No. Tell us the story.
Okay, so it happened very recently. I have definitely said no to my clients. But why? Why did I do that, even if they had money? So one of the most important factor is we look at a lot of other things. But let's look at the incident that just happened during the MCO. So a lost contact kind of a thing, and she reached me out. She owns a boutique in Bangsar, and she said, Kush, of course, the businesses were impacted quite bad.
Yeah.
And especially the brick and mortars were really in very bad shape. So was she, of course. Okay. And she had been doing pretty well with among the affluent people in Malaysia. But of course, the business wasn't performing. So she said, okay, I'm ready to do whatever needs to be done. Let's run all sort of advertisements. Let's do Facebook. Let's do Instagram and everything. Please consult us and all of those things. And she had the money. She had the right reasons of what she wants to do. But I told her, I don't think I can help you.
Okay.
The reason was, at that point of time, we were in the first phase of the MCO. So, it was about last year, May or April around. Right. And I said, at this point of time, people are in genuine fear. They don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And the thing that you're doing right now, which is selling outfits, is not their priority.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to...
where are they going?
Exactly. They're back at home.
With money.
Exactly. There are a lot of reasons. Right. People are saving their money, not because they want to save money. It's because they want to prepare themselves for any uncertainty.
Yeah.
And of course, your product comes under the luxury line.
Right.
Even though if you are wanting to serve the high-end luxury people, they have got so many choices, and Facebook is not the right place for them because they are not going to buy just by looking at an ad. They buy from people, word of mouth, network. So she was pretty shocked. She had hefty budget, trust me.
Okay.
And I said, I know I will run ads and I'm going to make money out of it, definitely. But I said, your success is my success.
Right.
And I know whatever I do, if I run ads, I would not be able to make money for you out of this. So it's not about generating just ads and releasing it out in the market. It is about taking you to the journey where you can see and have a return on that investment, at least 3-folds, if not 10-folds, which is not going to happen with you. If you find anybody else, I'll be happy to guide that person. But I don't think I'm the right choice. I then went ahead, as a friend, I consulted her. I said, things that you can do right now is, you don't need me, but I'm going to tell you what you need to do. He has a son, she has a son. So I told, ask your kid to set up a camera for you. You have a Facebook page, do branding, go all out. I know that you love stitching, you love all these tiny activities. Just add yourself to your brand, which you already are, but bring it online.
Okay.
Come on live, interact with people, share some tips, some hacks of how to DIY certain things at home. And this is the right time. People are in the mindset of absorbing, learning, and just getting acquainted. So take this moment not to generate sales, but a branding that will sell for you in 6 months down the line. And she went ahead and she did that. I didn't make money out of it, but definitely I didn't want it to also, because it was not for anybody's success, not for her, not for mine.
So no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets, right?
No
It's
regrets.
about doing the right thing.
Yes, it's about doing that. Sometimes I've said no to the client as well when it comes to, when I know that the client is
going to be a pain.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be a, and we get that hint. All of us do. I mean, we get that hint that okay, this is not. So that point of time, you know, earlier in my career, I have served a lot of those clients. You know, you feel like yes, you can't give it up. It also comes like, Kush, you're so young. How can you judge someone to be not a right client? Just go through the entire process. You might be just thinking too much. And I've done this several times. But now I realize, after speaking to some amazing people in my life, that the only thing I can't buy in my life is my time.
Okay.
And in the service space where I am today, it's the time that we're trading against every single moment. So that's where I realized it's sometimes good to say a polite no, or refer them to someone who can be a better help, and take a back seat. Even if there's money, do you want to trade your time against that money? Because the emotional energy, the mental energy, the team's motivation, because the team as well gets drained a lot. And I wouldn't want my team to go through that. If I'm not, maybe they will, right? So then I would take some choices there, unless it is super, super compelling. Like, but thankfully, in the past 1.5 years also, where things have been very difficult for us as well, but because we pivoted, because we were already virtual, we didn't have our teams just in one place, but in 7 different cities, sitting out wherever they want, because we have been a location-independent place ever since Beyond 99 started. So they never had to go through that transition. That's why my client also never felt any change from our side. So thankfully, we never had to retrench or have any pay cuts, but definitely we did not see the growth we could have seen in 2020.
But I don't think a lot of people did.
Exactly. So I think I said to this, I feel I'm blessed, but I do see it's hard time. When things are getting back to normal, this is when the real hard time will start for the businesses.
You see, whether it was the client, it's also like it ties back to your values, right? And not having to change your values, because you know, like you didn't want to take on that client, the one that you don't like, because you know, at the end of the day, your values are not aligned, right? And it's difficult, especially when you need the money, right? But you still stand firm to what your values are during this time, and you hope. I'm saying that, you know, I like to believe that later on you will benefit from making that decision. What about you? Anything to add to that one?
Oh wow,
clients.
I do agree with finding right value to your business, because at the end of the day itself, we're investing time, and time's not something we can buy back.
Okay. Any parting thought? Sorry.
I would love to say something, you know. Sometimes when we do this, very candid, it's not easy. For everybody who's listening, you know, you really let go a heavy amount, which is going to reflect in your bank account, and you can actually give bonuses to your team. You can do extra vacation, let's just say. A lot of things. So for a moment or two, you definitely feel like, did I do the right thing? Or am I going to feel bad about it? I do that, Am I going to regret not taking this client? And when sometimes it is difficult to make those choices, I feel blessed to have people around, partners around. And when you consult them, they give you also some right directions.
Right.
Because these people in life make a huge difference when we have so many decisions every single day we have to make in our life. So you do feel in small incidences the kind of unsurety.
Right.
But when you do, it's always great. I've felt that go, speak it up,
Right.
share,
Right.
get feedback, and then clear it in your mind and heart so that you don't have to carry that baggage and it becomes a pain
Yeah.
and just hurts the daily activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm also, and this is throwing his partner in the works, right? So you're talking about having to refuse a certain client because it's going to be a headache, right? And if you needed the money because you're children, you got, because, right? Would the decision be different then?
So I would say so my sister was very young, right? And I was taking care of my sister really as if she was no less than a daughter to me.
Right.
And we were not financially. My father had done well, so we were well to do. But of course, there were responsibilities which I wanted to take up, and so definitely sometimes I do feel like, okay, if I take this is going to happen, and this is what's going to be like. But then again, I have done this, as I said, but I realized after doing it a few times, it's not the right way.
Right.
Because the pressure you go through, the stress that you go through in managing, you actually reflect back with the people who are close to you.
Right.
So just for their joy, you are killing the daily joy. Daily, as I say, hashtag little moments, small things.
Right.
Those small things are more valuable than a vacation, than having a big gift bought for your mom or anybody close at your home. I feel when you sit together and you have that dinner every single day with lots of jokes and fun, those are the real fun of life. So I realize that when I take that, it's not a good reflection back home because you go through a lot of things as a person. So it's better to let go to gain those small and little
because
moments in
you
life.
do that as well, and it's just like you come home and there's no joy. What's the point, right?
Absolutely.
But then all the money in the world,
I think the same thing that you did with IBM. Now that I'm just thinking, because
No, but it was a great company. So I joined happily. I left happily, and I hope they were happy too. Not that I left, that I wasn't a problem to them. Okay, parting thoughts on how to live a life of no regrets from your perspective.
Wow. I'll probably go first. I would say take all the regrets and find the learnings from it. Because we tend to harp on regrets and it just expands itself by itself. But if we just pick out the learning lessons from it, regrets are a great way for us to move forward as well. And there are a lot of tiny little things which we might look back and we feel like, hey, I regret doing this. I regret touching that hot pot. But at the end of the day, if you didn't touch it, you learn something from it, right? So this is where, when we start thinking about regrets, maybe it's about changing the way, instead of dwelling on it, we find what we learn from it and we move forward from it.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you have changed the packaging for the fighting fish?
I would. So now there are more better technology for that. There's heat packs where you can put it in there and sending it over is a lot more secure.
See? And they would arrive happily too. Well,
that was when I was 14, so...
you didn't have the technology then. Kush?
Forgive yourself.
Okay.
Right.
Really, forgive yourself. I think one way of not living with regret is let go. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay not to be correct and make some mistakes in life which you don't or you didn't want it to. I feel the pain with things that has happened with my father, and I feel it deeply.
Right.
And when it hits me, it really hits me bad. So every time I just try to do two things. First, though being super critical, I would try to forgive myself with that. and I would try to find an ointment for it. Yeah. So that is something that I always do. Now, what is that ointment?
Yes.
With everything
Where
that
can I buy it? Is this all online?
Watson.
So something that happened that taught me that everybody in your life is not here forever.
Right.
So once taken for granted, don't take it forever. So that's my ointment with my personal life.
Right.
With my professional life, I feel there's no particular regret that I can think of. But when I think of those small things, I always see how exactly can that never be repeated ever again, or can be replaced inside my heart with something else.
Right.
Let's just say, for example, I'll give you a team member made a simple mistake, or we made a simple mistake in a delivery.
Right.
And now that is not a regret, but it gets to a regret point,
Right.
Yes.
right? It is a journey there,
Yes.
right? We will try to make the client feel right by adding things which will make them feel happy back again,
Right.
and not go through the pain or discontentment with the journey that they have for a day or two.
Right.
So we all of us do this same thing. It's just about realizing that once you're able to forgive yourself, only then you will be able to get to the point where you will find a ointment, which in other words is how exactly do you tell yourself that, okay, never mind, I'll make it up to that. And how do you make it up to that?
Okay. Solution mode. Let's get to solution mode. Thank you so much, Kush and Aaron.
Thank you, Frida.
I've learned a lot from you guys, right? So my next topic will be a letter to myself 10 years from now. And of course, I'll have two guests joining me too. Who are they? I'll find out too. I'll find out in 2 weeks' time. You've been watching Live Station B, Frida Liu on Jenn TV.